Good morning, students. Already in the previous class, we studied about stupas, ki why stupas were built, who built these stupas, and as already I explained to you that ki stupas were built on the remains of the Buddha and the belongings of the Buddha wherever it was buried. On those places only, the rulers of that particular kingdoms, or maybe can say the area, that kingdoms, they constructed stupas over it, including in that Ashoka was also there. So now let's see that ki how these stupas were discovered. Discovered means who find it out these stupas and how the historians constructed history on it. So first of all, we are going to see what was the fate of Amravati and Sanchi. Fate means kismat. Fine. In Hindi, if I am telling you the meaning, then I think so okay, it's more clear to you. So each stupa has a history of its own, and we can see also कि some of the histories of we come across that कि how these stupas were built, but there are some histories of their discoveries also कि how they were discovered, who discovered them. Like in 1796, a local king who wanted to build a temple over the ruins of the stupa Amravati. Amravati is in Maharashtra. So there was also stupa, just like how the stupa was built in Sanchi. So same way this Amravati stupa was also there. He decided to use the stones which were used in that Amravati stupa, and he thought that कि might be some treasure is buried under that stupa. You know that stupa is just like a mound, like mound कहते हैं टीला मिट्टी का. Fine. So that type of structure. So he thought that कि he will use those stones, and even he was just thought that कि there is some treasure. Treasure मतलब कोई खजाना. Fine. So that is buried under it. Some years later, a British official, Colin Mackenzie, he visited the site. Although he found number of pieces of those sculptures of that Amravati stupa, but he made the detailed drawings of them. But these reports were not published anywhere, and so we are not able to use it also. So in 1854, then Walter Illett, the commissioner of Guntur is the place in Andhra Pradesh, he visited Amravati and collected several sculptures, panels, and took them away to Madras. After Illett, these sculpture panels were known as Illett marbles. He also discovered the remains of the western gateways of Amravati stupa, which was one of the largest and most impressive and beautiful. Magnificent means most impressive and beautiful sculpture, which has been taken to different places. To the different places it has been taken. Some parts of it has been taken to Asiatic Society at Bengal at Calcutta, and some were taken to the India office in Madras, and some even some sculptures out of it has been taken to London also. And as we know that ki these people, those who were the European people and the people from Britain, they were very fond of these all ancient sculptures of India. So today, even if you will see that in their gardens of British administrators, these all sculptures were gracing, adorning, मतलब शान बढ़ा रहे हैं उनके gardens की. Fine. So in fact, any new officials in the area continued to remove the sculptures from the site on the grounds that earlier officials has done to the same. Because earlier official, whatever he was doing, he was taking away the sculpture to his own country. So next, which administrator was ruling, he was also taking away the same sculptures of these stupas to their own country also. One of the few men who later on had a different point of view also, like one of the archaeologists whose name was H.H. Cole, he had written in his reports that it seems to, for him, what was his thought? He was thinking like that, to taking away the original ancient art of any country is, for him, is just like a suicide. कि how one person or one country can take away the original art of that particular country to his own country. He believed that museum should have plaster cast, if they wanted to keep like such that the original should remain with that particular country only, but plaster cast uski matlab we can say that the copy of it can be kept in their museum if they are very interested in that particular art. So this all tells us that ki how these all discovered, all these sculptures and stupas were discovered where they had been found now. Fine. And unfortunately Cole did not succeed. He wanted to save, we can say that save that Amravati stupa from taking away by the other archaeologists to their own countries, but he was not succeeded in that. But later on his request was accepted That is why the stupa of Sanchi was preserved, and nowadays it is there in our country. The original one stupa of Sanchi is there in India. So why this Sanchi survive and not Amravati? What is the reason behind it? The reason is that when Amravati was discovered, means when it was found out by the scholars, they were not understanding at that time what is the value of its stupa. So when they realize it, so then till that time the Sanchi was left, and then they discovered Sanchi in 1818, and three of it, the fort gateways, were still standing. And this is only the reason, out of four gates, the three are still standing, and fourth one was lying on the spot where it had fallen. But that also, but mound means that is the structure which is semicircular structure of the stupa. So that was in a good condition. So nowadays also the Sanchi stupa is standing in a very good condition, and government is taking care of it. Even so, it was suggested that the gateway be taken away to either Paris or London. Even at that time decided also that this gateway which was fallen down can be taken to either to Paris or taken to the London. But finally a number of factors helped to keep, like in the starting we read about that the begums of that particular kingdom, that is the Sanchi. So they saved it and they kept it with India only, the original one. So this way we learned about the history of, and we can learn about the discovery of these stupas. So now the next topic is the sculptures. So how these sculptures help us in discovering the history of that particular period. So we have just seen that how sculptures were removed from the stupas. Sculptures are the pictures and these all things which are drawn on these maybe it can be on metal, maybe it can be on wood, or maybe it can be on the stone. So these all are called the sculptures. So you have seen that these sculptures out of these stupas has been, out of that some are taken by the European people also. So this happened partially because those who saw them considered them to be beautiful and valuable, and they wanted to keep them for themselves. What is the reason behind it, why they were taking away? Because that was very interesting for them and they wanted to keep it, and they were knowing about the value of it. That was only the reason we can say that why they wanted to take it away to their own countries. Now let us see that by reading these sculptures, how the stories which were written on these stones, how they constructed the history around it of that particular period. Stories in the stone, we can see that how these sculptures which are carved on any stones, so how the stories are then woven around these all sculptures. So you may have seen that the storytellers, those who are carrying the scroll मतलब एक कपड़ा होता है ना जिसको scroll करके उसके ऊपर कुछ pictures are there, and they are reading those pictures, and they are we can say that telling the stories to the people. So if you will see this figure 4.13 which is given on the next page, first sight the sculpture seems to be depict a rural scene. If you will see the which is given on that if I will show you that 4.13 this diagram, so you will see that in this is the diagram in which it has been shown the scene of a rural area with thatched huts. Thatched huts means those type of huts whose roofs are slanting, and trees were also shown there. And art historians who have careful of Sanchi, what they have described about it, कि this scene has been taken from Vasantara Jatkas. This is the name of that book or that text, we can say that, from where it has been taken out. And they describe, and they have we can say that constructed the story around it, created the story around it, that this is the story about a one generous prince who gave away मतलब दे देना सब कुछ अपना property and every kingdom, everything, to one of the brahmanas, and went to live in the forest with his wife and children. And dear, as you all know that at that time Buddhism may also, whatever you have read, that people were renouncing the world and they were going to the forest and live there with a very simple life. So now let's see that what were the symbols of worship at that time which were drawn on these sculptures. So art historians, you know that historians are of different type. Those who are studying about the human beings, they are different. Those who are studying about artistic works, so they are called the art historians. They had to get the familiar with hagiographies. Hagiographies means the biography of some we can say that religious people like god and goddesses, or we can say that Buddha. So biography of these people are called hagiographies. So hagiography of Buddha, in order to understand So we have to understand first the Buddha sculptures. According to hagiographies, the Buddha attain matlab he got or received enlightenment means the real knowledge while meditating under a tree. So many early sculptures they did not show the Buddha in a human form, but if there any tree people tree has been shown, so immediately the person can guess that ki this is all about the Buddha, because under people tree Buddha got a realization, that is enlightenment. So if empty seat was shown, this was meant to show the meditation place of Buddha, ki he was meditating by sitting on that seat. And if the stupa, it means it was representing the Mahaparibhana, that means where he was we can say that buried after his death. So another frequently used symbol was the wheel, and this stood for the first sermon of the Buddha. Sermon means teachings, where he has given his first teachings after attaining enlightenment. So as it is obvious, such sculptures cannot be understood literally. For example, the trees does not stand. The tree, we can say that it does not stand only just for a just as a simply for a tree, but it also symbolizes or it also shows the events in the life of the Buddha. These all whichever pictures in this we are seeing, so these all describe some of the stories related with the life of Buddha. In order to understand these stories, first we have to understand these symbols. So historian has to first of all they have to get into the traditions of those who produced these work of art, ki what was their thinking while we can say that while making these artistic works. So out of that, the popular traditions, now at that time, which tradition, Buddhism tradition, Hinduism tradition, or Jainism tradition, these were only the traditions which were very popular at that time. So other sculptures at Sanchi that were perhaps not directly inspired by the Buddhist ideas. Don't think that ki all the sculptures which were found at Sanchi that was just telling only about the Buddhist ideas, but there were also some sculptures which were found like this picture which is given on the left hand side, that is the one woman who is swinging on the edge of the gateway, holding on to the tree. So initially first scholars were a bit intrigued means that ki they were not that interested about the image, which seems to have little to do with renunciation. They thought that ki what is this image of the woman has to be do with the Buddha's life and Buddha's tradition. So however, after examining, then when they have examined it, when they have gone through it, we can say that in detail and deeply, then they found that ki this image has been written in a Sanskrit as Shalabhanjika, according to a popular belief ki this was a woman whose touch, if she is touching that tree, so that tree gets fruits and flowers. So it likely that ki this was regarded as an auspicious symbol. If it has been kept at anywhere, it means that it is an auspicious symbol. And Shalabhanjika motif suggests that many people who turn to Buddhism enrich it with their own pre-Buddhist and even non-Buddhist beliefs. Means this picture shows that those people who practice Buddhism, so they were not only turned to Buddhism just because of its Buddha before Buddha's time those beliefs were there, but even non-Buddhist beliefs also they were practicing, and they were also practicing some other ideas like Brahminical ideas or maybe some other which was popular at that time. So there are also some other images as well. For example, we can take one of the picture of finest picture which is given is on the right hand side, that is this image of the elephant. So in this animal include elephant, horse, monkeys and cattle. These images were most of the time found in those traditions, while jatakas are the stories. Okay, so in these jataka stories they contain several animal stories that are depicted, even which are also shown in the Sanchi stupa also. It is likely that ki many of these animals were carved to create, matlab whenever they were carving any of the scene on it, it means they wanted to speak something about it, means some story is hidden behind that image. So animals were often used as a symbol of human attributes, means they wanted to show, if they are showing elephant, means that they wanted to show the strength of that person, as elephant is very stronger and powerful. So same way only, if they have shown elephant, it means that they also wanted to show that that person is very powerful. and very wise also. Wisdom means very wise also. So when we go through these all paintings of the past, so by reading these all paintings and stories also, we can construct the history of that particular period. So when we see the another motif means that another sculpture, or we can say that the another symbol of that particular period. In that the woman is shown. If you are seeing this image, in that you can see that one woman is there. So that woman seems to sprinkling water. There is also she is surrounded by lotuses. Lotus is all around her, and elephants are also there, and which elephants are sprinkling water on her. छिड़काना, sprinkle मतलब छिड़का रहे हैं उसके ऊपर, fine, on her. And if performing an अभिषेक, अभिषेक करना ना, पानी का जैसे अभिषेक करते हैं ना ऑन द इमेज, सो सेम वे इट लुक्स लाइक दैट कि दे आर डूइंग अभिषेक ऑन हर विद द वाटर, दिस एलिफेंट्स. सम हिस्टोरियंस आइडेंटिफाइड दिस फिगर एज माया, द मदर ऑफ बुद्धा, एंड सम वर सेइंग दैट कि शी इज़ द पॉपुलर गॉडेस, दैट इज़ गजलक्ष्मी, लिटरली द गॉडेस ऑफ गुड फॉर्चून. अच्छी किस्मत के लिए द पीपल आर वर्शिपिंग दिस गॉडेस. सो दे सेड दैट कि दिस इज़ द गॉडेस ऑफ Gajalakshmi goddess. So by seeing all these images, the historians have constructed history of that particular period. So consider to the serpent. There is also one image is given of the serpent. Serpent means snake. So already it is given on this page. If you are seeing that ki the snake is shown here, so this also symbolizes something, this snake's picture also. So this motif, these all images are called motifs. So this motif seems to be derived from popular traditions. You can imagine that whenever you are seeing most of the time you might have seen that the image of Vishnu, and Vishnu is always laying down on a snake, and that snake has number of head, fine. So the same serpent is shown here also. So people have the historians have just recorded when they have read the text. So interestingly, one of the earliest modern art historian, James Ferguson, he considered Sanchi to be a center of tree and serpent worship, because in Sanchi stupa number of times these trees and serpents are shown. So he was not familiar with Buddhist literature that much, but most of which has not yet been translated also. He was not that aware about the Buddhist texts. So he was not able to arrive at any conclusion. He was not able to give any conclusion about this image of the serpent. So students, till today, till here only we are going to do. So the rest of the topics we are going to do in the next class. So till then, good.